Hey guys, it's Carroll, my review for The Death of Superman. And what The Death of Superman is essentially about is it's a pretty simple premise overall where essentially the Justice League, they're teaming up and eventually this huge creature named Doomsday starts erupting chaos pretty much all over Metropolis, and all of them have a hard time taking him down, so Superman needs to step up to the plate and take him down, while he also deals with other struggles in his personal life, and that's really all I'm going to say. So The Death of Superman overall, I knew nothing, really nothing going into this. All I knew is that I heard it was a really great movie and that it was way better than people were expecting it to be. I bought this back in August with the intention of watching it, but I just never got around to doing that till now. And I figured, it's December, we got the sequel coming out next year, I might as well give this a watch, and thank God I did, because The Death of Superman is a really damn good film. This is a very good animated movie that really does a great job of embodying the character of Superman in a very short period of time. But we're just getting into right now, starting off with the cast. And that's one of the things I will absolutely give this film. I think all of the cast here is really great. Everyone did a very strong job in this film. I thought everyone really was the top of their game. Let's first talk about Jerry O'Connell as Superman. I will say right now, when I think about Superman, Jerry O'Connell is not the first name to come to mind, but he did a very good job here. I went into this a little bit wary, not knowing how he was going to be, but I thought he did a very good job as Superman. It took me a very short amount of time to, to really get into him, because right off the bat, he embodies everything that Superman's supposed to have. He has that very good nature to him, but he also has that conflicting, he's very conflicted with certain things in this film, and I think he did a very good job with that. You don't hear Jerry O'Connell, you very much hear Superman in this role, and I think overall he did a very good job here. I liked what he ended up doing, especially towards the end, so I thought he had some very strong work, and I thought overall he was a very good Superman here. And then Rebecca Romijn here as Lois Lane is also a very good Lois Lane. What I really liked about her in this movie is that it's not all about her, but they also find a way to not make her fade into the background. She is still a very big part of this film. She's kind of conflicted where, she wants to help out Superman, but she's also dealing with Clark because he's not being truthful to her, and I thought overall she did a very good job in this film, especially towards the end of this film. Once we do get the quote-unquote death of Superman, her acting there, voice acting, I thought was very stellar, and I thought she was very convincing in this role. I really like what she did there. Rainn Wilson as Lex Luthor. Again, huge surprise here. Really blew me away. I was very convinced that he was Lex Luthor. Again, similar to Jerry O'Connell, I was even more hesitant about his casting here, but he honestly killed it in this role. Lex Luthor is a bit more of a sympathetic character in this film. You can see that he has developed this they're sort of frenemies at this point. Like, they have a very good establishment of each other, but people don't really still trust Lex Luthor. But the way this film does end, it kind of sets up maybe sort of a redemption arc for him, and I'm very interested in seeing where he does end up going after this film. I think Wilson is a very good Lex Luthor. He does a good job with keeping him grounded in reality. He doesn't get too over the top, and I was very impressed with him overall. Really, the whole cast here, I think everyone does a very stellar job. Rosario Dawson is great as ever as Wonder Woman. Nathan Fillion is still a very good Green Lantern. Christopher Gorham is a very good Flash. Matt Latner is a very good Aquaman. Everyone really does a very stellar job here. I thought everyone was very well cast. I do want to zero in on two other people, Paul Eiding and Jennifer Hale as both Pa and Ma Kent. Very strong work here. I really loved what they had to do in this film. Everyone was very good here. I thought everyone was very much at the top of their game, and I was very impressed by the acting here. But now I really want to get to the directing and the writing, because that's something I was a little bit worried about. And I have to say, the directing overall, I thought was really good. Sam Liu and James Tucker, they do a good job at first with just making this seem like a fun superhero film. That's really all they're going for. It's fun, but it does get significantly darker as it goes on. However, it doesn't try to force that down your throat. It doesn't undermine the fun of this movie, because like I said, for a while it is a lot of fun. But they also set up the fact that, yeah, this is going to be Superman's last hurrah, and I think they set that up very well here. I thought the tones were blended very well together. They had a very good understanding of what they were trying to do with this film, and I was very impressed with the directing. The writing as well here is really great, because because like I said, we do have a fairly simple premise here where there's just this beast roaming the city and they have to try to figure out what to do. But the way they go about it, I was actually very impressed by, because it takes a while for Doomsday to really come into the forefront of things. For a while, they don't really know what to do in this situation. Do they want to take on Doomsday, or how do they want to figure all that out? They're very conflicted with what to do about that. And I thought that was definitely very interesting. But I also really like the side stories going on this film, particularly with Superman and Lois Lane, because he's kind of dealing with this conflict where he wants to tell her that he's Superman, but he also doesn't want her to get involved in what's happening, and he doesn't want her to get too emotionally involved with him. And I thought that was definitely a very strong arc. I really love the way things did play out there. They have some really good stuff with Wonder Woman as well, which I thought was very well done. And there's some really surprising scenes in this film too that I really wasn't expecting. One scene in particular in the middle of the film was honestly really heartbreaking. I was not expecting them to go there, but like I said, the film is a lot of fun, but they know when to get serious, and they know when they want, you know, shit does go down in this movie. It's definitely not a film that's just, oh, it's just a fun superhero team up. Like, no, it definitely is a little bit more profound than that, and I think they do a very good job with that here. In terms of conflict between Superman and Doomsday, that's also very well established. You understand why Doomsday, you know, Superman is the only person that is capable of taking him down. Everyone else tries to, but they're just failing. And Doomsday, you know, he's very powerful. He seems to be completely indestructible, and you can understand why Superman needs to be the guy to step up and take him down. And I think that's set up very well. The inner conflict between them is very compelling, and I definitely really did enjoy it. And I thought that the story overall was very well done, and especially where they end up going with it in that third act, when you have that battle between those two. There's some really riveting stuff there, and that's something I was very impressed by overall. And again, I definitely really did enjoy here. The Justice League also are a lot of fun. Even the characters that don't have a lot to do, which I'll get to when we get to, you know, my flaws and things like that, they still give them the stuff you love. There's a really great gag with Flash early on that I thought was pretty hilarious. I really love that a lot. There's definitely a lot of fun moments in this movie, and that's the thing they do very well, is that they still try to keep it fun and lighthearted, but again, they are channeling darker territory. Like, they let you know this is going to be a darker film, but they still can have some fun stuff to it. And I think that's something that World of DC, they need to take from this film, because their solo films, they seem to do well with that. When it comes to their team-ups, they really seem to have a hard time maintaining a tone, and I think this film, it does a very good job with being an example of what they need to follow. Like, this is the way to do it. Be fun, but also don't be afraid to get really dark. You can still do both, and it'll still be effective, and it definitely does work in this film. However, if I did have to have a flaw with the death of Superman in terms of my complaints with this film, is that I will say the dialogue is a little bit rocky. The dialogue is not the best here. It does very much feel a bit simplistic, and that is because it is directly derived from the comic book, I'm pretty sure. I don't think much was changed here. Again, I could be wrong about that, but the dialogue is not the greatest. Especially in the early scenes, I think it gets better as it goes on, but at first, I was like, ooh, this is a little bit rough. I don't know if I'm really going to like this as much as everyone else, but I did think the dialogue was a bit rough at times, and some characters I did think kind of fade into the background a bit. Aquaman, you know, Green Lantern and things like that don't really have a lot to do here. They're in the film, and they do a good job, and again, they give them enough, but they don't really have that big of a role here, and I think they could have done a little bit of a better job with that. Also, I usually love the character of Batman. I think he's one of the most interesting of any superhero out there. He's got such a great origin story to him, and when you can do him really well, they do him extremely well. Unfortunately, in this movie, as good as Jason O'Mara is, which he really does have some great work, he very much feels like he doesn't really have a place in this story. It's very much Superman's story, and I understand that they want to get all the Justice League in there, but when you have someone like Doomsday and Batman is the only one that doesn't have powers, he really feels out of place here, and I think they could have done a little bit of a better job with maybe getting into that more, getting more into who Batman was. And again, I think that's a testament to the film being a little bit too short. I think they could have maybe delved into that a bit more. Again, it's not a huge flaw, like it doesn't completely ruin the movie or anything, but when you have a character like Batman and he is this useless in the film, I mean, it definitely is something they could have touched upon a bit more, and I was a little bit disappointed by that. I will say, though, the animation here is really great. In fact, I think it's some of the best that we've seen in any of these, DC Universe animated films. And the reason it works so well here is, again, because of those more intense scenes. I mean, they're able to get so much from it being an animated film that, and they don't really tone down anything. Like, they can pretty much do what they want to do here. And that's one of the things I loved about these films being animated, is that, sure, you could do this as live action, but I feel like a lot of what they show here, it would not be nearly as effective if it was live action, and particularly that final scene between Superman and Doomsday. It's extremely effective, and I thought there was some really great animation there. It felt very real, and I really did love the animation in this film. The score is also very good here. Nothing amazing, but it's very well implemented here. And the editing, I do think the film is a little too short. 81 minutes, again, the film was never boring, and I was definitely into it, but there were definitely things that I think they could have delved into a bit more. However, I can't really complain too much because there is a second film on the way, and the way this film ends, the way we leave things off, makes me very curious to see where they're going to go moving forward. There are a lot of possibilities, and again, I don't read the comics purposefully because I don't want to know what's going to happen moving forward, and the way they set things up, I think, is going to be a very interesting idea. I'm very excited to see where they end up going with this. The Death of Superman overall, again, it's a film that starts off very simplistic, but it really does get more complex as it goes along. It has some really amazing moments, especially towards the end. The Death of Superman, they do not hold back. It is very emotional, and I don't think it's a spoiler to say that he dies in this film. I mean, the movie is literally called The Death of Superman. It is very effective. They do not hold back, and I don't think they could have handled it better than they did here. I was very impressed by it overall. It's not overly sentimental, and I think that alone is enough for a reason to watch this film. But then when you factor in the really great performances here, the really interesting setup, I mean, there's a lot of things to love about this movie. It's a really great animated film. It's got some really great animation, some really great character work, and just a damn good story overall. And it just makes me wish that they put more care into the DC live action films, because this really shows what they are capable of when doing that. When you put as much care as you do into this, they're a lot more capable, and it really does show what they can do moving forward. I really love The Death of Superman, and I am going to give The Death of Superman overall a B+. But over, guys, to my review of The Death of Superman. Let me know what you guys saw of this movie overall, left your thoughts, and we'll see you guys in my next video, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.